Thank God it's Friday, but before we head into the weekend, let's do business. This time it's 55 minutes of going around the world of business for current and relevant conversations. I'm Ini John Mekwa, and this is Business Morning. As we normally start, we'll start from what's going on in the global oil space. We saw prices rising today, supported by concerns of Venezuelan supply disruptions, though they remained on track for a weekly drop amid cautious market sentiment and optimism over the prospect for Russia-Ukraine peace deal, which we are all looking forward to. Now, let's look at the numbers at this time. Almost 0.5%, also 0.5% here for Brent in the green. That brings the price up to $61.58. WTI is even more than that, 0.57% up, $57.93 a barrel for those two major. The U.S. is preparing to intercept more ships transporting Venezuelan oil following the seizure of a tanker this week as it increases pressure on Venezuelan president. That's the U.S. seizure. That's this week. That has raised a lot of concerns about supply disruptions after selling on expectation that supply pressure would ease amid hopes for a Russia-Ukraine peace agreement. Buying emerged to pare losses following that U.S. seizure of the Venezuelan tanker, according to traders in the markets. And then here in Nigeria, yesterday the market closed firmly in the green territory, adding 1.088 points to finish at 147,950.59. It was a huge close, green close, 0.74%, and the market cap is now at 94.318 trillion naira. Daily trading volume eased, Joe, down from 747 down there to 529.7. The value at 12.31 billion, and deals just about 18,000 at the close of trade yesterday. And the Securities and Exchange Commission is asking Nigerian banks and insurance firms also to mobilize substantial capital to deepen investment in the country's gas trading market and broader gas value chain. The move signals a renewed push to strengthen the energy sector and draw increased private financing. The appeal comes as the government intensifies efforts to attract billions of dollars into the petroleum and energy industries. Federal government authorities are reportedly seeking more than $10 billion in investment commitment to expand upstream and midstream operations, boost industry growth, and diversify national revenue streams. And despite ongoing policy reforms, industry stakeholders have noted that while policy initiatives are progressing, actual deployment of financing into gas infrastructure and value-adding activities remain slow, prompting calls for clearer funding structures and stronger public-private collaboration to unlock the sector's full potential. Well, some story from the NBS. Nigeria's total merchandise trade went up 38.9 trillion naira in the third quarter of this year, reflecting steady momentum in the country's external sector. According to the latest foreign trade in goods statistics from the National Bureau of Statistics, the figures represent a 2.36% jump when compared to the 38.08 trillion naira numbers recorded in the second quarter of the year. Key highlights of the report shows that crude oil remains Nigeria's dominant export commodity with a value of 12.81 trillion naira, representing 56.14% of the total exports for the third quarter, while non-crude oil exports accounted for 43.86, and that's about 10.01 trillion naira of total exports. At the same time, agricultural produce exports dropped by 37.39% quarter-on-quarter to 786.62 billion naira. Raw materials exports went up in spite of efforts in Nigeria to curb that. Raw materials export went up by 26.83% to 1.04 trillion naira, while solid minerals exports thankfully went up also 30.41% to 100.81 billion naira. Meanwhile, India remains Nigeria's largest destination for exported goods, followed closely by Spain, France, the Netherlands, and then Italy. Well, yesterday was a busy day for the FCCPC as the officials of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, they sealed the IKEDC Electric Distribution Company, the offices in Alausa area of Lagos, over alleged violation of consumer rights. Engineer Idayat Olorungbe, who represented the FCCPC's Director of Surveillance and Investigation, Bola Adeyinka, says that the action became necessary after multiple failed attempts to compel the Electricity Distribution Company to obey a Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission directive.
This real estate that you people were supposed to step down into 20 accounts, they came neck-ruled in 2023. You refused to oblige. These people came to FCCPC April 2025. We gave a compliance notice. October 2025, again, no response from IKEDC. So at this point, we have passed the level of technical section. So now it is enforcement now. We have come to enforce. After we seal off the premises, then we can now come.
Well, I guess FCCPC, they're enforcing consumers' rights. And I wonder where that goes from there, you know. So after the sealing, then what happens? The good thing is, well, I guess it doesn't really affect electricity supply through IKEDC Disco. I hope so. I hope it stays that way. Now let's talk about aviation. It's very busy in that area. That's the aviation sector in recent times, especially as we head into the festive season. We know that more people now embrace traveling by air because of the threat of insecurity on the roads. And just a couple of days ago, we saw Ekiti Airport open for commercial operations, and the inaugural flight from United Nigeria Airlines. So now let's talk about some of those issues in the sector at this time. We know that the minister there has promised that the supply will bring down the price of tickets, but a lot of people beg to differ. So these are some of the issues that we are going to discuss this morning with the Chief Executive Officer of United Nigeria Airlines, Professor Biora Okonkwo, joins us from our Abuja studio. Professor Okonkwo, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Great. I think a good place to start would be congratulations on your inaugural flight to Ekiti. And you were all proud and smiley, you know, because even when you were talking, then we heard one of your flights being announced, and I guess that was a great moment for you.
Yes, we're glad to be part of that history. And actually, that moment, the announcement came up on the public speaker. It was quite exciting, and you know, even the people at the hall were highly elated. So it actually confirms that we did not just only land, but it's now a reality that commercial flight had commenced in Ekiti. So we're happy, and again, quite exciting to be among the United Governors and former governors of Ekiti. That was a really great sight to behold, seeing the past governors in unity seated there together to celebrate that milestone. So we're grateful to Ekiti people for trusting us to be the instrument to actualize that. And channels were there live also to broadcast it to the whole world. That obviously made a whole lot of difference.
All right, Prof. But I mean, one of the things that was on my mind as I watched that glorious moment, you know, the commencement of operations of the airports in Ekiti State and, you know, and all of that. And I'm wondering, do we have enough factors to drive traffic to these airports?
Well, I really think that from the market survey, they have a unique situation. Unique situation in the sense that you have, from our findings, 6 institutions of higher learning. Number one amongst them is Upper Babala University, which in itself is a city, it's a town of its own, and they boast of over 10,000 students. And a greater percentage of these students coming in and out of Ekiti, obviously at certain seasonal periods, and also have programs in the university to bring in people and out parents and relations of those students. So we have no doubt that they will have enough to compensate. And beyond that, the state government understands the need to give the initial business time some comfort to stick, in that relationship. And it might surprise you to know that on that day, we came in with the full flight that the aircraft could carry, and also the aircraft out of Ekiti was also 100% full. It's a very rare moment in aviation to see that. So, and 100% of those passengers outbound out of Ekiti Airport were commercial passengers who paid their tickets. It might be also associated with the fact that it was a season the students are closing. So a lot of them are going out for holidays. But, you got to understand that aviation is just beyond taking you there and bringing you back. It's going to open up a whole lot of other opportunities. The abroad, that's Upper Babala University, for the first time, I'm going to Ekiti, and with the conversations I've had with the Vice Chancellor of the university, which has been quite exciting, we're going to go into MOU with them very soon to be able to offer them other services that United Nigeria can offer. And that has to do with signing an MOU to give them internship with some of their students. We're already extending that to Unizik in Anambra State. It wouldn't have been possible if we didn't start this relationship. And I think so, other things will also come its way. That airport, is an agro-based airport. It will help them also to start thinking of how to carry their products, especially their yams that it is known for, in and out of Nigeria. So I really think that it would open doors for other opportunities.
Yeah, certainly we do hope so. And I'm glad you mentioned the agro potential of the state. Hopefully this will also drive more activity in that area when it comes to agriculture. I guess that would be a sustainable way to keep the airport alive.
Definitely. I've seen some states embark on airport projects, and you really wonder why they need it, if they need it, if it will ever be viable or useful. But in the case of Ekiti, I can tell you that it is the right decision, and the timing cannot be better. They need it, and I'm sure it will be very, very useful and viable. It will contribute a lot to the economic development of that state. Yeah, and I can see the governor also is intentional about his programs to bring unity. And when there's unity, there's progress. So watch out. And again, United Nigeria is privileged and honored to be part of that history.
All right, we'll watch out for it. But, unfortunately, the very next day, you had to issue a notice of flight disruption. You mentioned a bird strike that disrupted one of your flights.
So, unfortunately, you see, that was our situation, and it didn't just disrupt our flight yesterday. It continues to disrupt our flight. It might interest you to know that bird strike is the third we're having within a space of 1 month. 1 month. We had one in Benin. It wasn't that impactful on the aircraft. We had second one in Kano, and then the one of the day before yesterday was in Kano. And obviously from the evaluations it required for the review, and obviously at the end of the day, knowing that we don't joke with safety standards and procedures, so the aircraft was grounded. And obviously there are some repairs that has to be done. That's going to cost us some money, and the aircraft might not have to operate for the next few days. So, but again, we cannot compromise anything for safety. But that brings us back to our cry and call for improved infrastructure. Birds all over the places, but it remains a big threat. I know my brother, friend, and great ally in the last 3 months when I was speaking with him, had 41 bird strikes. And these things should not be so. It doesn't take a lot of investment to drive these birds away. And we are crying out for this and hoping that there's some plans in place. I hope the minister FAN is actually exclusively the job of FAN to keep our airport conducive for our flight. And we don't, as much as we were prepared for this season, we have the aircraft, you have the crew, the aircraft are serviceable. And they don't have to plan for this kind of situation. And the spare parts that you need to repair this are not the kind of spare parts you have in your warehouse. And for us, as we say, every single thing we need to maintain our aircraft, none is manufactured here. You have to source it overseas, you have to bring it in, and this takes time. So we're expecting that our passengers will understand. That has brought about our rescheduling. It's very painful. We want our passengers to travel smoothly. And obviously, like we have always said, we don't make money when you buy a ticket, because you have right to go and get refund and don't fly again. We only make money when you fly. So if any person benefits from flying and on time, it should be the operator. So we need improved infrastructure. This morning on my way to this place, I got a video on one of our company's platform that conveyor belts in the airport, one of the airports is not working. And as a result of that, they're going to waste another 1.5 hours trying to get the passengers' luggages inside the aircraft. This 1.5 hours, if it accumulates down the road for the whole of this day, and obviously passengers, all they know is that the airline is not flying on time. These things are really, really very, very difficult situations. But we're in Nigeria. We have to provide this service. We have to be here. We're calling for more understanding from Nigerian travelers. You deserve the best. We are prepared to give you the best. But when so many of these things are beyond our control, please behave normally. You don't have to fight. You don't have to disrupt. We had a situation because of the bus strike yesterday. Some passengers that were affected caused a disruption for other people who had smooth flight. For 2-3 hours, they refused boarding. That can only happen in Nigeria. It shouldn't happen in other parts of the world. Delays, disruptions are there, but behaviors are different. That's the only issue.
But
These
Prof,
people out there working our wives to people.
Prof, maybe there's a need for more communication, because you would also understand the frustration of an individual who had booked a flight and perhaps has a meeting in an hour or so in the destination, and had things planned out, and then suddenly meets this. So you can expect that those reactions would not be equal and would not be as civilized as I would have loved it to be. Perhaps the airlines also have the job or the responsibility to communicate more, with individuals, with customers, and win their confidence. Because if I know this airline is trustworthy, so when something happens, I can say, oh, but they're not really like this. They're not always like this. Perhaps there's something that's wrong.
I agree with you. When I'm flying my airline, we fly our airline, I am a passenger. I'm not the operator. I am not the chairman. Before I got into the business of airline, I utilize them as much as any Nigeria can do. So I understand all the feelings. It is natural. But you know, the only difference is that there are certain level of behavior that is required of you, no matter the circumstances. Unruly behavior is not acceptable. And besides, the most important thing and obligation you should expect from any operator, both in Nigeria and in other part of the world, is to take you there safely. It's safety. Some of these things are the high standard and strict regulatory situations that have applied in Nigeria. Any slightest thing must be checked, must be verified, NCA must be contacted, they must have go through the books with you, and then show that all the rules are applied. So safety is the key. Delays are all over the world. I've said, if you get into any world airport, look at the screen. You see the number of aircraft, you see the destination, and there is column for status. At every point in time, you will see a sign of delayed, cancelled, to be informed later, boarding, on time. Those things are there. They're constant. But the difference is that the passengers there don't behave unruly. It does not help any matter. All right? So, but I can understand the pain. We can plan better. If there are improved airport infrastructure, it will automatically reduce delays and disruption by 90%. On the side of the airline, if you position the aircraft by 7 o'clock, their crew are on board and they're waiting to board. Morning boarding in most of the airports, especially MM2, where you have about 6-7 airlines boarding at the same time, they're using one boarding gate. You come to Abuja airport here, look at the airport you've been traveling. If you are calling boarding of 6-7 airlines, they're using one boarding gate. Outside this country, United Nigeria could have its own boarding gate. You just walk in, it reduces the time. These infrastructures continue to be a factor that is affecting us negatively. We are happy that the current minister we have is working diligently with FAN, but we want the impact to be felt very, very quickly. So again, I said 95% of reasons connected with delays and all that are beyond the operator. Unless you don't have the aircraft, unless your aircraft is not serviceable, unless the AOG is there. And obviously, the only thing you have to do is either cancel your flight. And these things are done all over the world. And when your flight is cancelled, you should know it's to your own interest because they don't have to operate with aircraft that's not serviceable. So in all of this, no matter how pained we are, we're only appealing to the traveling public to apply a certain level of decorum and civilized behavior. And there are things that benefits you can get according to ICAO, that is world standard. These things are not introduced because of Nigeria. They have been existing even before we started aviation. So these things are addressed differently. You can have benefits if you are delayed beyond certain hours and so on and so forth. You've been traveling internationally with keeping in the hotel, pay for your food because they couldn't fly due to some factors beyond their control, or hitting or destroying equipment. That goes airport. You just wait for the instructions. Communications obviously sometimes come inside the airport, get into their phones as the case may be. But once it's not what they want to hear, they still behave the way they wish they can behave. It's unfortunate, but we can help each other. It's a very tough environment. It's a very tough industry. We go through a lot to take you from one point to the other. Please understand and have mercy on those staff who are there because the problems are not caused by them. But they're just there to service you. We'll be glad. The greatest joy we do have is that, we do celebrate on-time departure. We have our ratings, and now we're working on 95%, and every staff is happy. Today we have on-time departure 100%. Sometimes we give them kudos on the back. So they want to get you there timely, and also help them to go home quickly, if they complete the cycles they have on that day.
I know, right? In case we forget that they are also human beings and they need to go home on time. But, Prof, the other issue on the front burner now is the price of tickets. I mean, the complaint of the heightened and increased price of tickets really is coming from a lot of corners. And though the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Mr. Festus Keyamo, has told us that competition will force it down, there are people who say no, that that may not be the solution or the way out. And they count the issue of taxes, and you have some of them right there, Prof. I hope you can tell me which one is there or which one is not there or which one we missed out. Some reports say there are about 54 taxes that airline operators have to pay to various government agencies and for services. For instance, they said the NCAA earns 18,000 for each domestic ticket, 18,000 naira. For electricity and counter usage charges, about $7 for an hour. Boarding bridge fees, 250 for $1. I believe that's for international. Rent per square meter in Abuja, about 75,000. In Lagos, 50,000. And Port Harcourt, 55,000. Service recovery charge, 20%. Apron pass in Abuja is about 250,000. In Lagos, 150. Port Harcourt, 125 for a vehicle, and it's paid annually. And then charges from the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency. En route charges between 7,751 naira 80 kobo to about 15,000. Terminal navigation charges about 6,788 naira. Overflight charges, clearance charges, extension charges, all of them are paid per flight basis. Does this capture all the charges and taxes that you pay as an airline operator in Nigeria, Prof?
Well, that's really great. I can see that channels have done a whole lot of homework on that. It's including this and even more. There are more that are not here. But from this, again, we can say that airline is we're just the ATM of the aviation ecosystem. Within the aviation ecosystem, obviously, have the agencies that you have mentioned. You still have ground handling companies. You still have in-flight service companies, those that provide the food, the drinks that you do have, and so on and so forth. And the only source of this collection is the ticket. And we, the operators, are those who collect that money. But when our travelers, our Western travelers, pay this money, some of them sometimes they might be looking at me and wanting to give me a knock on my head that you collect all this money from me. But as a matter of fact, we're just a distribution channel. By the time we had finished, the aviation fuel, as a matter of fact, constitutes about 40% of the expenses. So, and according to this rule of the industry, there are minimum expenses you have to make to operate the aircraft. Whether you have passengers or you don't have passengers, those expenses are sacrosanct. The aviation, the landing. If you land in any airport with 100% passenger load, you pay the same amount as if you land empty. And at the end of the day, we spread this cost per available seat on that aircraft. And that becomes the unit cost of each passenger, whether you're on board or you're not on board. So it is really huge. And we have been crying for a very long time now that these taxes are not only a burden to the operators, they're all transferred to the passenger, because you have to factor them in before you now determine the price of each flight. If you don't do that, then we, the operators, will be operating at a loss. And sometimes it gets to that because at the end of the day, you are left with only 1 or 2%. And that 2% is not enough to maintain the aircraft, is not enough to maintain on-time operation. Servicing aircraft is huge. In all of this, you had also not included certain other operational costs, which comes about 60% more than in any other country. I give you, for instance, we have some aircraft. You have the brake, the noseway, that is the tires, in a common language. If I have an operator operating the same type of aircraft that I have, A320, in another climb, it could take him about 200 landings to change his tires, to change his brake. But in Nigeria, it could take us 30, 40, 50 because of the state of the runway. So that's extra expenses. And there are other, like this best strike we do have. Sometimes it costs you hundreds of thousands of dollars to maintain, sometimes millions. It wouldn't cost you the same in other places because you don't have that best strike that as common as it is there. So it is huge. Our operational cost is huge. But we do not compromise safety. We don't want government to push the situation to the state that has to happen. But we're happy to have been engaging.
So, Prof, it does seem like the perception of the minister that supply will deal with the price in this case cannot work. If we really want to deal with the price, then we have to look for a solution to these numerous taxes and charges.
Well, in a simple economic theory, as an economist, the competition will always will obviously help to streamline certain prices. But however, with specific regards to aviation, there is no other country in Africa that has the number of airline companies existing in Nigeria. So I don't know how many more that will come in. And these guys who are coming in, there are a whole lot in the making. But when they come in, obviously, unless they have a grant or they are sponsored by government to fly free of charge, no matter their cost of operations, I don't see anything that's going to come beyond this or below this, rather. So the cost, because certain costs are constant, like I told you. However, another thing also we are not factoring in here is that for you to have a better deal with your ticket, you must have to buy your tickets early. A typical pattern here in Nigeria is that some people wait until they are flying. They wait until they get to the airport. They want to ask which airline, which aircraft is on ground, which airline is about to take off. And that's when they want to buy their ticket. At that point, you're probably buying the last part of the ticket that is more expensive. Even on an international flight, if you want to go to summer next year, some people who plan better would have bought their summer tickets by now for next year.
All right, Prof.
It gets cheaper.
Prof, still talking about those taxes, I wonder, it's going to be a new era when it comes to tax law and tax operationalism in Nigeria from January. Are you looking the way of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Reforms and Tax, perhaps to intervene in this number of taxes? Is that a possibility?
Definitely. As a matter of fact, it might interest you to know that for the last 3 days, the executive members of AON have been in Abuja. We've been engaging different segments of government, from National Assembly, we've seen the Senate President, the Deputy. We had met with the Committee of Aviation yesterday, and on and on. And all we're saying is that if you allow this new tax regime as prescribed for the aviation sector to apply from 1st of January, forget it. You've shut down the industry and we're dead. We cannot survive. So many things during the public hearing of this tax fiscal committee. We were there. I led the AON team that met with with the chairman. We made our presentation. Honestly speaking, he was rather sympathetic. And we did not have any form of disagreement or understanding. We were on the same page. But what turned out to be the final copy was obviously not our expectation. So we've been bringing this notice to different quarters. As a matter of fact, beyond the meetings with National Assembly, we are meeting with the chairman of Physical Committee by next week, Tuesday. We're doing all we can, and we're just simply saying, beyond our business, this will kill the industry. And when it kills the industry, it's going to affect every aspect of life. Aviation remains a catalyst for economic growth. Our $1 trillion economy is dead on arrival if you don't have vibrant and buoyant aviation sector.
All right,
I'm wanting to note here that our aviation sector is driven 100% by private sector. It's a partnership government must be able to encourage. We're not asking for any loan, any free money. We're not asking for grant. We're just saying, don't apply this new tax rule. We cannot breathe. I've been crying for the last month that we're being suffocated with all these excesses you're already seeing. And again, the whole aviation world now, we go to international conferences and meetings. Nigeria is the most expensive place to operate in aviation. The taxes here are more than even more developed airports and facilities around the world. It's huge. For instance, we started our journey to Ghana. Before you even sit down on the airplane going to Ghana, $200, that's 300,000 naira, is already for different airports, Ghana airport and Nigeria airport. It's huge. So how cheap can you sell those tickets?
All right, Prof.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like we can exhaust this in one conversation. But thank you so much for your time and sharing those observations and your experience with us on the program. Professor Obiora Okonkwo is the Chief Executive Officer of United Nigeria Airlines. Thank you, and we certainly wish you the very best.
Thank you, Ine, and thank you, channels, for giving on this platform. We'll be glad to be back next time to share these developments with you.
I will be glad to have you too, Prof. All right. So let's take a break now. When we come back, we can hardly have any conversation these days without AI. That will be our focus after this break. Please stay with us. This morning right here on Channels Television. It's an AI world and getting more and more that way. I've been told that for you to successfully apply and adopt AI, you need a certain behavior. So we have a tech and behavioral futurist right here in the studio, Adeoye Abodunrin, joining us to come and tell us what's the behavior to make AI or to be successful in an AI age. You're welcome to the program. Good morning.
Thank you, Amy. Good morning. Excited to be here. And thank you for some work that Channels TV does all the time.
Thank you so much. First of all, I'm just curious, being a tech and behavioral futurist,
yes.
What's your job?
Well, my job is to prepare us for the future, to study behavior and technology and how that will govern our lives and how things will pan out, and to see whether there are behaviors today we have that will not serve us in the coming future.
So you have a certificate. Obviously, it's not in our university curriculum yet, I believe, or is it there?
In Nigeria, not yet, but there are a few bodies of knowledge already. The actuarial sciences, predictive statistics, probability, you got strategy in some business context and business schools in Nigeria, and they do a lot of futurism work. But futurism generally all over the world is still in the early stages, and it's very interesting. It's a big field. Some people have done it for 50 years, 70 years, 100 years. In the United States and the United Kingdom, you've got loads of futurists across different sectors. Tech behaviorists, tech futurists, there are personality futurists, there are financial futurists, business futurists, HR futurists or HR futurism is a big industry.
So for in my Nigerian mind, I'm saying, is this different from prophecy?
That's very interesting. Thank you. That's a very interesting question. Prophecy is actually, in my opinion, if you want to scale it, personal futurism or personality futurism using gifts or inspiration. That's what I would define it as. But there's also personality futurism, financial personality futurism. For example, if I see your finances and I look at the past 3 months, 6 months, and past year of your life, I can predict for you how your next 5 to 10 years would be. Basic done exercise all over the world. Coaches use it all the time. Or I look at how you talk and I listen to you. I can listen for your behavioral patterns. Even though I don't know you, I can say a lot about you. For example, I have developed, if I see 60 seconds, I can say a lot about you because I've trained myself over 30 years in personality futurism, using psychology and gifts, talent, and all of that, and what you call prophecy.
After the program, I'll ask you for what you have observed.
I will.
But anyway, so what are some of those behavior that you think could deter Nigeria or Nigerians from fully adopting AI, since we have all agreed that the future is in AI and technology?
Yes, absolutely. Number one, it won't serve us to bury our head in the sand. We have a que-sera attitude that's both religious, quasi-religious and cultural. Say, my God will not allow this to happen to me. My God will not. No. This AI thing, I will never be out of a job. I'm the light of the world. Yes, I agree. Whatever your persuasion is. In this case, you can't be quasi-religious. You can't say it doesn't concern me. About 5 years ago, I was in a WhatsApp group, and they were saying, no, AI is not coming to Africa yet. We still have a long way to go, blah, blah, blah. So the same group, we had a physical meeting recently, and they were really talking serious AI stuff. We will lose jobs. I thought you guys told me 5 years ago on WhatsApp that we should not worry. That's the first attitude. We can't afford to bury our head in the sand. We can't wish it away. We can't hope it away. We are in the age of AI already. What we saw during the computational era, where exactly the way the year 1990s and 2000 were, we are back in another cycle. The things happening on the AI front are huge. We can't afford to have que-sera attitude or wish it away. The second thing is that we can't afford to be too fearful. Fear immobilizes. And what human beings don't understand, they rationalize with fear and they go defensive. This is general behavior. We can't afford to have a fearful approach. I mean, there are many fearful conversations. Will people lose their jobs or not? That should not be the front burner conversation. The front burner is this new wave that is coming. How do I ride it? How do I and my business multiply myself? There are companies today, just 12 people, and they are doing hundreds of millions of dollars. The business models all over the world are changing. Those are the kind of conversations that we should embrace. The limit of the human fear is demarcated by understanding. We should pursue understanding, and that's what we should look for. The third one, I think, is that we should invest money. How you spend your money that you earn today, for example, I said earlier, is an indicator of how your future would be. But when I check our GDP budget and all of that as a country and as a continent, maybe South Africa is spending some huge money. I don't see heavy financial bite in the direction of technology. The numbers for me are disappointing. I'm sorry to say that we have the advantage to leapfrog. When GSM came, it seemed as if Nigeria was backward. All of a sudden, when GSM came, several things began to come on, and some of the technologies that Nigeria came up with, the West were gaping. There are some areas of the GSM family of revolution that the foreign countries were looking at us like, this is huge. My point is, AI is here again. It's in the nascent stages. There's opportunity to leapfrog and quantum leap ourselves into superior productivity in record time, by the way.
So I hear you when you say you're not happy with the spending on technology now, especially when you compare what's going on in other African countries. I came back from Morocco a couple of weeks, I think about 2 weeks ago, and I had my heart broken, you know, when you compare what's going on in Morocco and what's going on in Nigeria, and yet we're supposed to be the, you know, big brother, the giants, you know what I'm saying? But we also have to be realistic. So if we see the government giving more attention to defense, for instance, we know that that's a priority for us at this time. We've seen some interesting macroeconomic numbers, but they have not reflected in the micro. So that means that when we talk about welfareism and all of that, so when we see the government looking that way, I mean, it's obviously a priority for us. So perhaps we're waiting for AI to grow, mature, and then we'll leapfrog again. And
no. AI will now outgrow us, God forbid.
Nigerian in you.
we don't want to be the ones. So we've been colonized 3 times actually. Argumented, there's A and B, so is that 3 or 4 times, whichever side of the. We're about to be colonized a 4th time with the AI revolution. You see, every time you speak on this phone, Samsung or whatever, sorry I mentioned the name, any X device, you are speaking through someone else's server. If you run any enterprise resource planning tool, SAP, whatever name, Oracle, wherever the company is domiciled, that is where your business is running from. They have access to all of your data. They can see the, permit me, intestine, liver, everything you are hiding, everything you're about. That's a form of colonization right there. We are not a sovereign entity. What we're saying now is that when are we going to have the Nigerian version of this device I'm holding? All these TVs, and the CIA has said it all over the world, they can tune it and listen to you. So we're dealing with the national sovereignty issue. So when we're spending money on defense, and by the way, when we say spending money on defense, meaning spending money on technology that can help us save. The moment you put it that way, because the height of defense is in technology. So how much of that defense money is being apportioned to tech development? When are we going to have secured systems so that African head of states or even the federal government and who else I can talk to? If I was the president, for example, I can talk to my cabinet and I'm sure that no world power is listening.
But we have data centers coming up now, especially in Lagos. Does that help? Are we on the path?
A lot of them, but the servers that are going to be installed in data centers
will still come from
other Oracle servers, Microsoft servers. The meaning of, I'm sorry I'm mentioning some names, Amazon server, the meaning, as long as we are passing through somebody else's infrastructure and we don't have indigenous original equipment manufacturers that the government has empowered and the community has empowered to own our own, we are not safe. So we can't be building defense infrastructure. We can't build any infrastructure because there's no critical national infrastructure that's sitting on its own. So if you see an Amazon or whatever name, the government of their country, they are working in consonance with the government of their country because communication is security. Security is communication. So at the end of the day, governance rests on it. We are not yet autonomous people until we own our own. Second I would like to say, data. It says these AI things are coming up, data is being generated. Whoever has the data has the new oil field of the future. So, where is our data sitting? If you are using any of those platforms I mentioned earlier, you are in the cloud somewhere. So someone knows how much you are earning. They know where you go. For today, sobering point, Google Maps is far more reliable than any map of any federal. How can our territorial sovereignty, upon which you're going to map security anyway, you want to know where the third point of streets are, right? We're going to go to Google. Where is Google? United States. Where is our own? So these data centers coming up need to be Nigerian servers, Nigerian infrastructure, Nigerian trained engineers who end to end we own it. What's my bigger point is an opportunity for a leapfrog at a very big level. It's a good point to borrow. It is something to borrow money. I'm sorry I'm using the word, but I don't like borrowing. But it is something we can literally spend money on, and it's good for our future. Honestly,
I'm enjoying this, but time is not our friend. They say, you're having fun. And it's a whole lot driving it to the heart and painting. I really appreciate how you're painting the picture like that. We're using Google Map here, and it's domiciled in the United States, and we're talking of security. I mean...
if Google Map crashes...
Wow.
how many of us will get home? Number two, if somebody wants to really...
Any information at all, you go to Google Map and you get a lot of
The
us.
past 2 months, Google Map can give you a timeline where you've been.
Yes, true.
That's too much information in somebody else's server.
In another country, including our government officials.
Our senators, everybody. You see, somebody can sit in 2-3 countries max. Maybe even one country can sit and plot all of who we are, plus whose wife, concubine, whatever. We are totally
Adeoye, please, we really have to stop. Adeoye Aboduri is a tech and behavioral futurist and painting some picture right there that's somehow too scary, but it's the reality and we really have to do something about it. But thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let's go global in the short time that we have. Just a couple of stories starting from the UK, where the premium Britain pays to finance its debt has narrowed thanks to Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, shoring up the public finances in her budget last month and a helping hand from her central bank. The shift suggests that Reeves is improving her standing with markets that determine the cost of servicing roughly £2.8 trillion of government bonds. So she's using bonds to shore up some of those debts. And then Ireland's planned curbs on trade with Israeli settlements will be limited strictly to goods. This according to the minister, offering first clear signal on the scope of the contested legislation and rejecting accusations that the country is anti-Semitic. And from Ireland, we see Japan's core inflation rate likely to be held well above the central bank's 2% target in November, according to Reuters poll, although moderating food price hikes have taken some pressure off consumers ahead of an expected rate hike next week. That's Global News and Business Morning for today. Thank you so much for being a part of it. I'll be back at 1:30. Then we'll have 25 minutes to go around the world of business. An interesting conversation you would not expect is waiting for you at 1:30 during Business Incorporated. I'll see you then. I'm John Mekwa.